From epic highs to demoralizing lows, somehow the rugby is not our main talking point this week. This is the Interpro Show. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Interpro Show, your home for all things Irish rugby from across the professional and amateur men's and women's game in Ireland. Deep breath. We are down a wounded soldier this week in Adam, but fear not because Ben and David are here as happy as they can be considering their respective Saturdays. I genuinely don't know how you're doing it, gentlemen. But David, I'll start with yourself. I know you had a busy social life this week. We won't dox you, we won't get into any of that. You had a busy social life, we'll leave it at that. So it might have been nice to not watch rugby this weekend of all weekends.
Yeah, no, it was. I was following along. I wasn't really following along. I was too busy, but I got snippets of scorelines, and they painted an interesting picture. I'm glad I went back, and I didn't, by my own admission, watch the whole games back, but I did watch the highlights of all three games, and they were informative. I think the scorelines in at least two of those games were a little bit deceiving. Not that the material result of the matches would have changed very much, but it does bear watching. And the third one, like, great day out for Connacht. Can't really be said for any of the rest of us, but no, it is a good day for them. I think we're still well clear of being able to say it's a turnaround or anything like that. You don't want to predict anything before it happens, but it's a good win. Just on its own, it's a good win for Connacht. Um, and yeah, it really lights up that final eight, that push. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the next, what have we got, 5 weeks left in the URC, because it could get very tight, and that could be fun, depending on how it goes.
Yeah, it could be fun. It could be horrible. It could be fun. It could be horrible. Ben, I don't know which way you want to go with your conversations tonight. So, Troy Parrott, Kate O'Connor, Munster Rugby, Limerick Hurlers. Of those four, which one do you not want to discuss?
Munster? Can we move the Interpro bit of the Interpro show just over here,
We can.
please?
I'm sure Lee would be very happy to know that our rugby podcast won't be talking about rugby.
I mean, like, but I'm all about the rugby, as I've been told previously.
Only
Ah,
about the rugby, I
only
believe.
about the rugby. Sorry,
Yeah.
let me rephrase. Look, Treaty won, Limerick won. Ha ha
Who
ha
did
ha
Limerick beat?
ha
Yeah,
ha
exactly.
ha. We're going to beat the Czech Republic tomorrow as we're recording. Hopefully, please. Rugby, what rugby? Rugby, what rugby?
Yeah.
Look, Ulster and Connacht was a cracking out game Friday at least. The rest of it aside, we had one really good game that unfortunately Treaty United took me away from. But we won a game.
Great start. I mean, I was going to say great start to rugby podcast, but to be fair, given the state of rugby podcasts in Ireland, I think we're about level par for amount of games watched because I watched all three. So I think that's better than most podcasts, to be quite honest.
Like
But
the other host who watched the most of them also isn't here.
that
So
as well.
like
Yeah.
we will we'll
Although
we'll do our best.
he's also a Spurs fan, so our thoughts are with you at a difficult time, Mr. Adam. But we're going to start, as the name of the show would suggest, with an Interpro. Connacht getting their first win over an Irish rival in over 2 years, courtesy of a 26-19 win in Ravenhill. And I suppose, like, I just have it down in my notes. Obviously, I'll start about time. Like, it is about time. I think the sure Lancaster said it was 10 in a row. I think it's more, to be honest. I think we're up again like 11 in a row at this stage. The Connacht had lost. But yeah, it was about time. It's a huge win. It's a huge win for Connacht season. They've now won, is it three in a row? Four in a row now?
Four in a
Um,
row.
four in a row. I keep getting confused because obviously that round two game is, elsewhere as you read it. But yeah, like four in a row to kind of kickstart their season. And like we were kind of proven wrong here. We were saying if Connacht aren't in position heading into January, they're done. Forget about it. But they picked off four wins in a row. They beaten Glasgow, which we wouldn't have expected. And you're kind of looking at it and you're like, do you know what now? There's a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. And I suppose that's just how they kind of bring you back in. I thought across the board it was an unbelievable Connacht performance. Obviously, Bundy was incredible. Maybe in your second game back from suspension, don't start picking on lads after the match. That the optics of that may not be hectic,
Look,
but
he can't
look,
help himself sometimes. Just
he can't
happens.
help himself.
I
Common.
heard Stockdale started it.
Yeah, but like,
Did Stockdale get in the lift going to the meal first too? Oh no.
I was going to say you would say that,
Liable,
and
I
then I
don't know.
realized there's one thing that David and Jacob Stockdale have in common that I'm not going to say out loud. Yeah. In case I do, I better say it. It's because they're bald. It's nothing else. I better say it than you
That's a
say it.
lie. That's a lie.
Well, that's close enough. I'm sure Jacob Stockdale would say it's a lie as well, but I
No.
realized
Playing
halfway
a
through that I
sport
should say
where
it.
all of the light comes from above you, I feel your pain, Jacob. I feel your pain.
Yeah, well, look, that's exactly it. But no, look, it's Monday was incredible. I thought obviously Finn Tracy took his two tries, so Keane Prendergast, like for a man who I didn't think was playing that well in the first half of the year. Look, I don't know if you realize this. Sometimes players getting called up to Ireland camp can give them a little bit of a boost. Who would have known? Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this is something we should look into. But I thought Keane Prendergast was excellent. And obviously, considering he announced his retirement this week, Jack Carthy was excellent. And then Josh Ioane came off the bench and was just as excellent, which is a real 1-2 punch that Connacht are going to miss when it looks like neither of them will be there next year. We don't know how that's going to go, but we shall see. And Ben, I'll start with yourself. You mentioned it, or whoever mentioned it. Absolutely imperious defensive performance from Connacht. Yes, they conceded three tries. Yes, that is one part of it. But they were resolute. They made over 230 tackles, I believe it was, almost 240 tackles.
250
Um,
officially it's down as.
that even got bumped even since
250 tackles, 27 missed with tackling
yeah.
83, which is
But
insane.
that's a lot of time without the ball is the main thing. A
Yeah.
number of jackal turnovers. It's it's about want and effort when you hit those numbers, and that's a big thing. That's a sign that they really needed this win, as we were saying.
Yeah, look, Connacht off-ball Ulster, which was excellent. They did the exact thing that we've seen teams go to Ravenhill and try and do. They gave up, as we said pre-recording, they gave up the Connacht try where like Connacht look really good and then they all just fall away for 2 minutes and you inevitably score. I think they did that twice based on highlights that I saw. But look, Connacht were excellent. As a Munster fan, I'm slightly concerned that they're going to pip us to top eight in the next couple of weeks. We have to go to the Dexcom, which isn't easy. Ulster will be licking their wounds a little. It was a chance they could have gone top if they had won this
For the time being, they would have went top. Yeah, Glasgow would still have kicked on, but
time of game. They'd have gone top. They'd have gone second anyway.
yeah.
With Leinster having to go to Glasgow, which we are going to discuss. Look, Connacht were excellent. They did exactly what they needed to do. They're going to kickstart their season. It looks like it's three on the bounce. Should probably go 4 or 5 on the bounce, really. And then we're in big trouble. Big, big trouble.
Yeah, well, opinions may vary on all that, but I suppose David to kind of bring in the Ulster side of things. Obviously, we don't have Adam this week, so feel free to do any impressions. No impression on this podcast would ever be as bad as Lee G impersonating me way back when. But a costly slip up for Ulster because you kind of look to their home games like, right, they're all winnable, but this is their easiest home game they have remaining. After this, it's Leinster, Glasgow, and Stormers. So it's like on paper, now those games just look that little bit tougher, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I think the only Adam impression I could give would be Suftum, but this wasn't very Suftum of him. This wasn't very Suftum at all. It'll be look, it's frustrating for Ulster. There's no doubt about that. Bernard Jackman said that he was at the match that it felt less hostile there than it might have done in times gone by. There could be an element of complacency on Ulster's part. I think this is the first home game they've lost this season.
Yeah.
Certainly not something they would have expected to happen. Um, Given their form, given Connacht's form, they would have felt this was an eminently winnable game. It's certainly, as you said yourself, even among the games they have left to go, not one they would have expected to be the one that tripped them up. But fair play to Connacht, like they're stringing together much more consistent performances. It does help that they're less impacted by Ireland camp. Obviously, Ulster, and I've seen the raw end of that. I know that Stuart McCluskey was at a charity dinner on the night in question after having put in an incredible Six Nations where he was nominated for Player of the Tournament. You have to imagine when he comes back in, things will show up a little bit for Ulster. But no, look, Connacht took their opportunities where they came. Their defense was a lot better because Ulster have a phenomenal attack. To keep them to three tries was very good on Connacht's part, and it was great to see like young players. Obviously Bundyaki had a great game, but Finn Tracy was phenomenal. Like the speed this lad has, seems to have at his disposal is just brilliant. So I think, as frustrated as Ulster will be, um, you know, it was a good Connacht performance. I don't think there's a massive amount of shame in it. I think maybe it's a bit of a wake up, maybe it's a bit of a shake. Ulster are in the enviable position now where they're high up enough in the table that they can take a shake and without being thrown completely off balance. But I think they'll be making that, looking at their remaining run of games. They'll want to get 2 from 3 out of that now at this stage, where they maybe would have had a little bit more wiggle room, and considering there are 2 more interpros in there, I think they'll look back on this one with a bit of frustration that they let it slip away from them because yeah, it doesn't necessarily get easier from here. But I think for both teams, it could be a departure point from which they could both grow. Connacht now are within striking distance of the top 8. There were definitely points in this season where that did not feel like it was going to be the case at all. It felt like it was going to fizzle out. You felt like Stuart Lancaster would need more time to get them playing the kind of rugby he wanted, and maybe he still win. The false dawns have been a thing with Connacht before. For Ulster, like I said, it's a cage rattle, but given their position in the table, it's one they can take. It'll be an interesting one to see coming in the next few weeks because the top 2 are taking a bit of a step away, and I think the next 2, being Ulster and Leinster, don't play either of the top 2, so it's not within their gift precisely to do anything about it. But like, that's kind of the magic of the remaining rounds of the season because it's about to get very, very interesting. Oh,
We
sorry,
almost run a risk now though of
Ulster play
like
Glasgow at the
having
end. But yeah,
we almost run a risk of like having 1 to 4 being Ulster Glasgow aside. You'd expect Leinster to see it out from here, Ulster to mostly see it out from here. And then there's a 5 to 10 is a bear pit. It always has been in the URC.
Mm.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's why this weekend's game is very important. It's Connacht against the Ospreys. Connacht can win that. It's a buffer heading to South Africa, but it might be enough to eliminate the Ospreys. And as we seen last year, like that looked like this is impossible to call with 3 rounds to go. But
yeah,
then after the second to last round, you're like, oh, it's over. Do you know,
yeah,
like teams can just be eliminated very, very quickly.
yeah.
And I think that's going to be a massive part of this
Have
conversation.
Connacht got Ospreys, South Africa, Munster?
Ospreys, South Africa, Munster, and their last game of the season. One second now, I have it here. So
Yeah, while you're looking at that, Kayla,
Connacht.
I will just correct myself. I said that we
Oh,
don't have our gift. Leinster don't. Ulster do. They have obviously Stormers and Glasgow to finish. So Ulster, I like this as much as this is a rattle for them. They can totally right their ship, and take both of those teams. Glasgow, I think, will come to them in a second. Will be very happy with the fact that they're starting to put the kind of distance for themselves at the top of the table.
and
That
hot take: Stormers don't look excellent. I think
no,
the Stormers. Don't get me wrong, the Stormers are a much better team than Munster. The Stormers have a similar issue to Munster insofar as we have a 9 and 10 who have to do everything. And that'll only get you so far. But for Connacht, Ben, they have Ospreys this weekend at home, then Challenge Cup. Stormers away, you'd probably book in a loss there. Lions away, gettable, but probably a loss. Munster at home, Edinburgh away. Now, the thing is, Edinburgh could be out of the equation by the time round 18 comes,
And then Interpro's at Interpro.
and
And it's in
Interpros
the
and
next
Interpro
con.
at night time. Now, granted, it's in like first week of May, isn't it? Last week of April, first week of May
Is it a
territory.
Friday? Is it a Friday or Saturday evening at half
It
seven?
It's a
It's a
Saturday at half 7, so it's going
stupid
to be
kickoff
it's going
time.
to be dark. I'm planning to be there. I'm planning to make most games. I'm planning to be there this week as well. But obviously, duty calls sometimes it brings me to the other ends of the country. But
Quite one small thing on Connacht.
yep,
What they're doing an away end for Munster.
yeah,
They're
I was going to
putting.
write that down for the notes and I completely forgot. Can we give out about that? Can we call that utter woke
I
nonsense?
think it's an interesting. I'm not against it. I say this as someone who I go to a lot of football. There's
Hmm.
away ends are a big thing in football. I don't necessarily hate it. I was surprised when we got the MRSC link and it was Munster in this stand,
Yeah.
which is also not behind the goal. It's facing the clan, which
Okay.
is interesting in
And
and
it
of
used to
itself.
be the Bohermore end. It used to be the right, oh Jesus, the left as you look at it on the TV. It used to be that side. Used to be.
Yeah, yeah, it was the one that faced the sea. I've been in
Yeah,
a couple of times.
that's the Bohermore end. Yeah,
Um,
There's a wall at the back of that, and I used to have to walk in I used to work in Lisbon for anyone who knows Galway, and I used to have to walk into town. And at Christmas time, this is like a 25-minute walk. I beat the bus. That's how heavy the traffic was. And that's all I'll ever
Like,
remember about Bohermore,
I
that
don't know
walk.
the thing I want to see creeping in, but you can imagine like Leinster and Munster in the Aviva next year, or even in the Leia, as they call it now. If they say all the Munster fans go in that north stand, either go in the uncover stand or in the far end of the Aviva, or if like Munster were to say North Terrace blue, just turn it blue, the atmosphere you'd have, the potential if it sells really well is
I
X. I know
get
it gets
it.
rid of the whole camaraderie in Munster. What's it, rugby ethics? It gets rid of that
Rugby
stuff,
values.
but like,
But can I offer a suggestion? I think one of the great things about rugby is that you get, because you're sat
yeah,
beside people, and we've had it in years gone by at different games, because you're beside them, it just picks up a notch. And that's one thing I like, because I've seen it in both instances. I've seen pockets of fans in sections of crowds, and it brings out the color. I think on the eye, it's better. But I think when you're actually in amongst it, as
yeah.
long as there's no shit, and there's always a chance you'll get shit. I know you've got it before at away games. Don't know about yourself, Dave. I've got it before at away games. There'll always be that. But for me, the fact that you're beside the person you're supporting against, I think can just bring the volume up a small bit. And for the love of Christ, we really need rugby to bring the volume up a small bit from time to time as well. But it's interesting. I'm not for them, but I understand why teams are going that way, if you know what I mean. Like I get it. And like I think to their credit, to Connacht's credit, it's a cool thing to try. And I think French clubs, when they send off, like, here's your allotment of tickets, it'll usually be one section of a stand. That's often
Yeah,
what they do, you
and
know.
certainly
So
like when we played against like say La Rochelle or Toulouse, now an aspect of it is that they come in groups anyway, but like
mm,
they do tend to be mainly focused in one pocket of the stadium. And I think like it'd be interesting one for an Interpro, say between Leinster and Munster, just because how many tickets do you allocate to Munster then? Like they'll end up being spread out
that's the
anyway
thing.
because we don't really have control flowing,
The
and
the
we're both
best
buying them
the best
from the
Munster
same
Leinster
place. Like you're
atmosphere.
not gonna they're not gonna gate Ticketmaster
Yeah.
based on where you're based. So, but no, it's not terrible.
Ticketmaster, those crafty veterans. But
Yeah,
I do think like
See, benefit of Connacht, they have a little bit more control over because
It's
they have
future
their
yeah,
own
ticketing,
sets.
so
it's
they
true.
can be like, you're going here. It's in
Yeah,
front of the enclosures where they're putting us. Now, I say us,
it's the
I'm
main
not
stand.
going.
It's called.
Yeah, it's the main stand, which is not a
That's
bad
I think
place to
that's
watch
that is what it's
rugby,
Is
to
the
called.
be fair.
clan
Yeah,
the main
it's a
stand
lot.
now? Sorry.
It's a
Clan,
lot.
but it's now the
No, no, no,
Dexcom
no, no.
stand. Is it still
The
the clan
clan.
stand, or do Dexcom get
It's the
naming
clan
rights on the
stand,
stand?
I think.
Okay, clan
I think
stand.
it's the clan stand. That's where the clan terrace used to be, and then the main stand faces it. And then above the main
Yeah.
stand is the enclosure, which you should never go to because it's a dead zone. Um,
Would you believe? Can I tell a small story, right? Because I love slagging Mayo and Roscommon. As a proud guy, man, I love slagging Mayo and Roscommon. Ben was there when I slagged Mayo in France, and a lot of people were confused. But I was up there before. It was the night that Connacht beat Munster on their en route to winning the league in 2016. And I don't know why I was in. I don't know why. I think we had tickets for behind the goal, but we got in anyways. And someone shouted out because Mayo were playing at the same time. They just went, Mayo for Sam. And I just went, Roscommon for Sam. And I've never been so proud of my fellow West of Ireland people when the next response was, throw that fucker out. And that is why we need to start a GA podcast on the Global Gainline channel so we can spread it to the masses.
On away
But
fans, and against my actual point, I think I said this previously on the pod. We were away in Toulon semi-recently.
mm,
And Caolán, you know the story I'm going with here.
yeah,
There was at Toulon stole the game very end. They got a score to win the game after Munster taking the lead, and this
a
Toulon
very
man,
dodgy penalty as well.
very little English, taps me on the shoulder, end of the game, and says, "Remember Conway?" And just sat back in his chair and folded his arms. And I was just like, I kind of love you, but also I want to deck you at the same time.
Yeah, but you respect that. That's the
You're
that's
right.
the
Away
good.
stands are
Yeah.
utter woke nonsense. You're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not going to solve the issues of many utter woke nonsense issues in rugby union. But gentlemen, before we move on, just a reminder to everyone to make sure to subscribe to the Global Game Night channel to get all the latest content. We've got the Women's Six Nations coming up, the back end of the club season, top 14 show on here, and exciting announcement, drum roll without any drums. We are also looking for hosts of provincial podcasts, which we are set to drop next season. So leave a comment down below if you're interested. You can message myself, Caolán Scully, on Twitter. You can message the show on Twitter, where I believe Ben is the one who uses the account the most, so buyer beware on that one.
I'll be nice, I promise.
But
Ish.
Sorry,
um,
I thought my cat was trying to escape.
yeah, that was the vibe I got, in fairness. Or that someone stole your cat. But not that that would happen. Yeah, so as I should say, we're looking for hosts of 4 provincial podcasts next season. So leave a comment down below. Lee will go through. We're not sure what direction we're going to go in with them. We're probably going to follow what we already have. We're also thinking about an Irish language podcast. So if you know of anyone who has an Irish language podcast and can hop on, do let us know. The more the merrier. And then we can
That would actually be really cool. Please, can we get that?
it would be very
That would
cool,
be unreal.
absolutely. And we could have someone saying, actually, TG Carr's coverage was X or Y, as opposed to it exists. Thanks, lads. I say
No.
that as someone who like got 80% of my oral for leaving cert higher level Irish. So like humble brag. But
Ooh, fancy pants. Look
uh,
at
I'm hoping we
me.
it's
I'm
also
hoping we
seven
can have
years ago.
a hybrid. 7 years, fuck you.
Thank you, David.
Yeah. I'm hoping maybe we can get a hybrid, a couple of focal here, a couple of focal there, and then we'll end up doing a crossover podcast with the How to Gale girls because they're pretty cool. That'd be nice.
And you know what? There we already have a connection because I believe Ben is 4 or 5 times removed from Louise Cantillon through
Oh, there you
friends
go.
and neighbours and all that. So
I was going to say, I don't know his family the right way to put it, but there's definitely like friendship links going that way.
yeah, no, exactly. Because everyone in Limerick knows each other. So like it's just bound to be the case. I went to college down there, everyone knows each other. One of the first people I met that was from Limerick was like, I used to live next door to Barry Murphy. And I was like, I know him, he played for Munster. But we're gonna stick on the Munster theme for just a moment because unfortunately, Ben, we do have to discuss a record loss in South Africa on Saturday, a 45-0 defeat. And we're going to have to get into it as well. The start of a very strange week for the province. And I suppose to kind of get things going, it was memorably awful. But we did say before the game, David was like, guys, is this the case? We were like, yes, it was the case of 2 very bad teams having a bad off for the first like 60 minutes of this game as well, which is not a saving grace for Munster. It's just the way it was.
No, like it was. I think I made this point in response to David earlier. The URC this year has had many games that were 2 bad teams being bad and one team being less bad. Where this game was 2 mediocre teams being mediocre, and then the last 20 minutes, the Sharks deciding, oh wait, we're actually pretty good at this. And I mean, Munster played really well, but really well to stretch. Munster played well for half an hour, 25 minutes ish of both halves. And then inexplicably stopped playing rugby. Look, we made one clean break all game. I don't think we made 200 meters. There is a stat, may or may not be true during the week, that we had more knock-ons and entries into their 22. When you put all of those things together, you end up
Probably, probably is the answer. As
genuinely.
someone
I
who
don't.
watched it,
I think it probably was true. I saw this game. Unfortunately, I sat through this one. It all combines to be Munster's heaviest competitive defeat since I think 2009. The first time we were nil since 2009 in a competitive fixture, when that was Leinster in, I'm going to assume the RDS at that point. You weren't
yeah,
using Croker. You were using
it
Croker then.
was was that the John Hayes sent off game
Yep.
potentially? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, God, that's October 2009 in that
And look,
instance. Yeah,
we made 7 turnovers. We had more turnovers in the Sharks. We actually, with ball in hand, looked okay. I've seen criticism of places JJ Hanrahan, thought he was actually quite good. He did well as captain, did well out of hand, tried to use his backs as best he could without going into too critical of Munster, but loop passes are great. It's all we know how to do now is loop the ball around and hope something happens. But again, is there any real positives you can take out of a 45-0 drubbing at South Africa? It's done. It's over.
yeah. Well,
Um,
it's not because Munster in Pretoria this week
this
at
one is
two
over.
o'clock. At
Look,
2 o'clock kickoff, which is even worse.
we're not the first Irish team to get battered in South Africa. We won't be the last Irish team to get
Uh,
battered in South Africa. And
yeah, and if I could say
Even
some
when he's
nice
down
things
and
about,
out, he
yeah.
still gets a punch on David. It's okay,
no, what?
David.
No,
You're
no,
with
no, no. It's
friends.
happened to us
And I was
before.
just
It's
about to say
fine.
nice things about Munster. And like I would say, like watching the highlights back, knowing the scoreline, I was like looking at the clock going, that doesn't seem quite right. I know what the score of this game was. So I would say there was an element of running in tries at the end when everyone knew the game was up. Where the jig was up, so
Munster are
you're
out
like,
their feet at that stage. Like
yeah,
in
and you're
fairness,
wrecked,
as what
and
happens.
you're definitely going to lose, and there's not even a try bonus point or a losing bonus point to be gained from it. So everybody's a little bit just, and there's one guy chasing everything back, but
And I
like
know it's
when
human
they'd be
nature,
running
but
in
that
two try,
actually
you know,
that annoys
the
me
Sharks scoring
more.
3 tries in the last 4 minutes is in a game like that, you're like, well, like,
Yeah.
you want to keep
Yeah.
playing right to the end, and a couple of players did, and the ones who didn't, might want to take a look. But at the end of the day, it's not like this was an unbelievably dominant Sharks team who took you for a 7 try. If they're scoring tries on every 10 minutes for 80 minutes, that'd be rough. But that's not what happened.
It's like the
And
European game a couple of years back when they
Mm.
legitimately beat us out the door down
yeah,
in South Africa.
But
yeah,
that
like
was back and forth for about 60 minutes.
yeah,
Last year's
and
game
they pulled
wasn't.
clear.
It was over, but it was so loose that you always felt Munster could get something out of it, and they did. They left with a point. That was
Yeah,
probably the aim coming in this week, I would imagine, Ben. And then the fact they didn't. And now, as
There
you
was a point
said,
in
with
Saturday we didn't
everything,
look, we knew what we were doing. We
yeah,
just looked out of ideas inside 50. And like as David said, yes, there's a gloss put on that score line by the two Mempimpi tries in the last 3 minutes. But I was kind of left with okay, we did well, but did we really ever look like scoring at any point in those 80 minutes?
yeah.
I think the first two attacks in particular, it's like, oh, they're going so like there was definitely one early attack where Shane Daly gets the ball in space. And I've said this before, Shane Daly is not quick. He's not a potent try scorer, but every time he scores a tries, they always seem to be good. He always seems to score good tries. It's really weird. But he got the ball in space, and then Munster getting it wide, and it actually ends with that forward pass slash knock on Tom Farrell ball to Chris the Calvin Nash. And I can see where you're going with this. It was just so unbelievably frustrating, like
There,
massively to watch. And like similar to what we seen from Ulster, where they couldn't stick passes, Leinster was less of a passing issue and more just struggling to break down Glasgow. You're just looking at it and you're like, geez, that has to stick. Like that is like if that's an NAIL game on Saturday, you're like, that has to
so
stick.
there's a rugby club in Limerick that I occasionally train with. I'm too unfit to train every week, sorry, but they're doing a boot camp for the next 8 weeks to get people into rugby, and they're like, oh, the first thing we're telling people is ball to hand, ball goes backwards, you go forwards. And I was like,
Hmm?
if this is step one of boot camp is catch backwards forwards, how can you have as many knock-ons as you did if you are paid to play the sport in a pro game? And I
Yeah.
know knock-ons happen. I know they do. And this is
And
me
especially in
kind of
humidity
venting.
and all that as well. But yeah,
But it was every time.
yeah. And I just want to, because we have other Munster stuff to discuss to come out today, we got to that in just a second. But David, I think what's really frustrating from a Munster fan point of view, from anyone who covers them, was the start of the season. Like, oh my God, Munster are going to have a stress-free year. They're not going to win every game. We knew they weren't going to win every game, but it was like their floor has been raised. Their second-tier players are stepping up to the mark. They are, second through the first 5 games, unbeaten. Should have beaten the Stormers. Like completely gets memory hold. They should have beaten the Stormers. They probably should have beaten Leinster, or at least gotten a draw out of that game. But now it's like they've gone from in the race for top two for in the race for top eight. Like technically they can get top four. But they've got to go to Pretoria. They've got to go to the Dexcom. They've got to go to Benetton. Three places the teams don't necessarily win in. And it's like you're firmly in a top eight race again after your good start, which is just the most frustrating thing you can say about a season.
Yeah, it's maddening. And it's like it's a weird one because the URC season has shortened now. It's only 18 games, and it's mad to think that we're already only 5 games away from the end. Like it doesn't feel like it's been going for that long. But yeah, things can shift so fast. And like those final 3 games, Pretoria is a hard place to go at the best of times. In Dexcom. Connacht, annoyingly, even for Connacht, I know was a major source of frustration for Andy Friend, was can't show up when they play Munster. They just do. I don't know what the animosity between you pair is, but they do. Then they will. Benetton very up and down, but they had a good win just gone there. I think they should probably have. Is Menachelo is still with them for the remainder of the season, or it's next season he's going to Toulouse?
I think it's next season he's
Yeah,
going.
so like
Also, we haven't won in Italy in 2 attempts.
yeah,
This
they
will be
have the
three.
firepower to do it, so it's a very tricky season, and it's frustrating after the start. But like there were hints of it there, like there were a lot of those early games that Munster won, aside from the Leinster game, which is probably their most dominant performance of the season. There were a lot of games that were hard fought wins, and I think the hope was that the hard fought wins would convert into growing confidence, and the longer McMillan was there, the more things would bet in, and it would grow from there. But it's kind of stalled a little bit, and an aspect of that is his first season in charge. There's a bit of shifting going on. Mike Prendergast obviously leaving at the end of the season. There's disruption as you lose players to Ireland camp, and where you make jokes that they don't lose that many, but they lose important ones. Ty Byrne and Jack Crowley. I suppose there's hope there too, because while Ty Byrne is very tired all the time, he's also one of the best players in the world. Having him back is going to be a
Yeah.
huge boost. And Jack Crowley has to be riding high after a really, really strong finish to the Six Nations, taking the Ireland 10 jersey back, steering the ship really well to finish out the Triple Crown. So like, Craig Casey now with a bit of fire under him from being put under a little bit of pressure by Nathan Doak, who had a great performance in the tournament as well. So those three guys come back in, it will really help the end of Munster season, but they're going to need it because it is coming agonizingly close to slipping away from them from, yeah, like you said, where they really would have felt like they were starting the season um going for those top two spots. So yeah, it's a really weird one that we're even now 5 games out from the end. You can't convincingly say where anyone finished. You can't even convincingly say that anyone will finish, top eight, top four. There's so many variations. It's going to be a fascinating
Yeah.
run into the end of the season. If you've never watched rugby before, I've no idea how you made it this far through the podcast. But if you haven't, the next 5 rounds could be a really exciting place to start.
Well, in all fairness, David, like I look, it's obviously our charming personalities and good looks if they made it this far without watching rugby. But no, I completely agree with
There's the
everything you said.
TikTok clip.
That actually that is a TikTok clip. That's a good show. But I would just be of the opinion that like above everything else, I can understand why a new coach there'd be a bounce and then a come down or whatever. But I think what's really frustrating is the fact that Munster's second layer started so well, like second layer in the depth chart, and are now not playing well. And there's a leadership issue that wasn't there at the start of the season. Obviously easier when you're winning games. I think they look poorly coached in areas of their game. Obviously, scrum is mano a mano. It's different. Line out has regressed. Attack has regressed. Defensive shape, I would say, hasn't. I think just there's an energy thing, and that comes with form and confidence. Like we've seen over in Toulon, for instance, thought they defended really well despite conceding 4 tries in a game like that. But the flip side was the Cass game, they defended really poorly, conceded 4 tries. But I just think they look poorly coached. And considering the caliber of coaches Munster have, like Alex Codling, Mike Prendergast, Dennis Leamy, Clayton McMillan, that shouldn't be the case. And I think that's fair to say. But we do have kind of off-field stuff to touch upon. So the Irish Independent and the 42.e reporting today that Munster are had a meeting, as far as I know, yesterday. I'm trying to put my journalistic hat on right now to kind of lead this. As far as I know, they had a meeting yesterday to notify staff that they would be seeking voluntary redundancies across the province. The number fluctuates depending on who you ask, so not our place to look into. But obviously, as we all know, with redundancies, number one, it is people like you or I, which is always a great shame. And we, of course, have great sympathy for anyone who may be put on the chopping block, for lack of a better word. And also at the same time, redundancies often comes in rounds as well. But Ben, I suppose, because look, we're conscious that you know people in
Yeah.
the HPC, I know people involved in Munster. We don't want to get personal with this, but from a Munster perspective first, it's really disheartening to see because it is a great club. Some of the best people you'll ever meet, involved down there and working down there. But it is a sign of the times. Everything's getting more expensive. There are bills to pay. There's costs to cover. And look, it's a weekly story in the news that X company is laying people off at this stage.
Yeah. And look, just as you said, we know people in the NGC, and just to echo those sympathies of I've been through it. It's awful. All we can do is from the four of us, we should absolute best. Anyone who is affected by it, it is legitimately the worst thing that can happen job wise. Um, from a Munster POV, look, the statement that they've issued to media it explains the reason behind it, the current economic situation that we're all very aware of. I have opinions that I think will come to in a couple of weeks when this is resolved and we know what's going on. But look, the club will get out of it. Ideally, Munster are taking steps that will ensure the club survives in the next decade, because we've seen what's happened in clubs in England, in Europe, and further afield. Look at Wales at the minute. It's awful. Again, I hope the club finds a way out of it that ideally as little people as possible need to take this redundancy program and can get back to work, and we can focus on, hey, the club needs to go start winning games, and we can focus on pitch and not off pitch.
Mm.
Um, Look, we'll see what happens. Again, our sympathies to absolutely everyone affected. It is just awful. It should not have got to this stage. We're here now. Let's see what happens.
Yeah,
To
no,
be
and
nice.
I would agree. And like obviously when there's that human element, it's hard to speculate. It's very easy and it's wrong of us as fans that we could talk about player contracts, coaching contracts, get him gone, get this guy gone, whatever. But when it comes to like the people at the back of the house, we're like, oh fuck, don't
They're
want to
human
talk about it.
beings who take emails, take phone calls, deal with us on social media when we're actively shouting at them
Well,
because someone missed a
speak for
kick.
yourself.
Sorry, deal with me. Deal with me on Twitter when we miss a kick. And I don't do this. I'm not one of them, I promise. But again, these
Yeah.
aren't people who we shout at in Thomond Park every week. These are people who go in on a Monday to Friday, work in the
These are the
HBC at
people
Thomond
you
Park.
meet working on match day as well, and like,
E-
that's the thing, and
Exactly. And look,
it's tough.
it's tough. I'm sure full situations will come out and we'll get clarity on what the external review has said, what the review has said that needs this to happen. But I said, look, we're not going to speculate. It's not our place, other than just to say best of luck to absolutely everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose David, on that, like, look, redundancies are unfortunately a part of life in this day and age. They're kind of an out for businesses, and I don't mean that as like a cop, but like they are an out to cut costs. And we've all known people or have been through it. I haven't, but I know people who have. But there's also the element of, say, when you look at it in a sporting sense and you look at rugby as a greater picture, clubs are not doing well. And like we will probably have, and I'm not trying to speculate overly, but I would not be surprised if the RFU are taking a measure in one place that we won't see this happen. Maybe not this year, but maybe in 2 years' time elsewhere, or maybe in 3 years' time elsewhere. Because rugby, as a rule, is not a profitable sport. And until we fix that, we're going to have more Munsters, more Wasps. And obviously, Munster, very different situation to Wasps, but more Munster, more Wasps, more Biarritz, more whoever, where the tank just runs a little bit empty sometimes. And Munster are fortunate they have the IRFU. Other clubs don't have that. We're just, it's kind of the way it's going, isn't it? And like my own fear, and don't get me wrong, I want Ireland to win tomorrow as we watch this. I 100% do. But what does rugby do when provincial rugby falls behind a surging League of Ireland, potentially? Maybe not in terms of numbers, but potentially surging Gaelic football and hurling, and a surging national team who seems so disconnected from the provincial game. Like, how do we make money off this? I know it's $1 million question, but they're genuine fears at the moment, aren't they? For the game in Ireland.
Yeah, they are. Look, to kind of echo what Ben said, you know, redundancy suck to be on the receiving end of. I went through a round of them that I did not survive about 18 months ago, and it's hell. Like it's the worst thing. Like it's awful. You can get fired from a job for doing something daft, but like to lose your employment through factors that are like materially completely beyond your control. Organizations the size of Munster don't lose money because someone who worked in the backroom staff didn't work hard enough. That's not how redundancies work, unfortunately. So like to everybody involved, I have all the sympathy in the world, and it's really tough. So just take care of yourself, and anyone else who finds themselves in that situation. It's really really rough. When it comes to sport in general, it's a tricky one. It's a very very tricky one. The GAA as an organization has kind of inoculated itself against a lot of the vagaries that other sports face by not paying their players. It's a major boon to any system wherein you don't have to pay the people who make the whole thing run. Obviously rugby used to be like that, and then we moved away from it. I'm not really saying that's the solution because I do think sometimes it makes sense for sports to take up so much of your life to be a paid job. But that is the one advantage the GAA has. League of Ireland, I'm not as familiar with their structures, how it's all funded. I think, it's an interesting thing with a lot of big sport, even the Premier League and big sports in Europe as well, where they're much bigger organizations, they make a lot of money, but a lot of them are backed to the hilt by very wealthy people. Like sport is something that we all enjoy, but a lot of it is done at not just at the point of funding by, or, people paying money for tickets or people paying money for merchandise. A lot of it is done because people with a lot of money like owning sports teams. And, that's true of the NFL in the United States. It's true of the Premier League. It's true of, you look at golf in the situation with the PGA and Live, big amounts of money come in and things start moving. Rugby has the misfortune of just not having that as much. They have it to a degree in the UK, but then you can have instances where individual club owners don't manage things as well. So I don't know that the solution comes from necessarily finding additional sources of funds. I think the thing that rugby has to guard itself against, no more than any business, and I think that there's actually quite a large industry that I won't name, but anyone who's wondering, think of the largest industry at the moment that might, in some way, shape, or form, resemble a bubble. Um, these industries make the mistake of overvaluing themselves. And in a sport like rugby, I think the most obvious way that that manifests is that players start getting paid higher and higher salaries. No, I'm not saying players should be paid nothing. I'm not saying they should be paid pittance, but things have to grow in a way that's scalable and that's sustainable. Like that's why we have that's actually the actual reason why we have salary caps, not just to make things fair, but also because if it grows, if one part grows more than the rest grows, then the parts that can't grow at the same pace will just die because they can't keep up. So we need to kind of, the redundancies hurt, and I think they hurt because the people involved probably aren't earning a massive amount of money, and it is more of an accounting exercise than anything else. Maybe a necessary one, but it's unfortunate that it takes that shape. But I think the trick is that if only 10,000 people want to go see a rugby match, then the sport should reflect that that's the number of people who want to watch it. And we shouldn't look necessarily for rugby players to be paid what soccer players have paid, or for it to happen in for league matches to take place in 80,000 seat stadiums, say, for example, if it's not an 80,000 seat sport. So I think there just needs to be a bit of maturity when it comes to how much money is there before that money gets spent. And I think as a person who might be in a situation where they're being made redundant, maybe you need to be careful about who you hire, because I think when you hire people, that's a duty of care to a degree, and you need to be careful with people when you particularly in an area like rugby, which is so specialized. Like when I got let go, I'm a software engineer. I just went and got another software engineering job, and that still took 6 months. There aren't that many rugby teams in the world, so these people will be able to get jobs in other fields and all that. But I'm sure working for Munster and knowing the people I know from Munster, it has to have been a dream to be involved in that organization at all. And that's not going to be an easy thing to replace. So, yeah, I think
No,
we
and
just need
like
to be a little bit more careful about how we do these things.
Dave makes an excellent point. And like we know the RFU has been looking around the country at ways to save money because the sport is going, unfortunately, the sport is going one way and it's not exactly up in terms of attendances and in terms of money going through it in Ireland, England, Wales. Ideally, this is the only horrible decision that needs to be made across the country. As horrible as
I
it
do I
is,
do fear it
but
won't, and I'm not trying to.
no, but
This
look,
this
we
is on
can.
field as well. Budgets are being trimmed. I've heard of reports of academy numbers being trimmed as well, which is an IRFU. What people do forget is the IRFU pay for the academy. They run the academy essentially, just regionalize it. So
And like, I would
this
just like
is
to, just
worth
before
mentioning.
someone says we're bashing the review, we know it's an independent report. We're not.
Oh
We
yeah.
we, we know the state of the game.
Oh,
Y-
that's why I wanted to touch on like the
yeah,
game as a at
yes.
large, because you cannot, and I think one of the biggest misdirections in sports coverage is looking at sports through a minor lens. It's macro. Everything about every sport, no matter how niche it is, comes in as macro. To lift the mood a
Parrot.
small bit. I know
Andre
none of us.
Parrot.
It's very similar. So the Irish football supporters liaison officer has tweeted that Guinness will be on sale in the away end tomorrow night. We have never been more back as
Go
a
on, Gary
country.
Spain.
I understand. I shouldn't have probably said we've never been more back. But just to wrap things up, gentlemen, to Scotstoun, where Leinster made it back-to-back defeats for the second time this season, which is weird. But this time at the hands of Glasgow, a comprehensive 38-17 loss. And David, like, I was trying to think what's the best way to start this conversation. I think just there was really nothing to show for Leinster. They just weren't really at the races, and it was just one of those games that has probably become synonymous with other provinces more than them.
Yeah, it was very flat. Like it's been a growing problem with Leinster, or not growing problem. It's been a problem with Leinster this season. It was a bit of a problem last season as well, but it was kind of masked by the defense, which I can kind of get into a second. But like my problem watching Leinster this season is that there's very little in the way of inventiveness. If they're not fitter and faster and more dogged than the opposition, they're not going to win. There's no. I feel like a lot of the time we're in desperate need of sparks and not getting out. And it doesn't even feel like it's for lack of players because there are players in there who are more than capable of sparking things. Like Sam Prendergast at 10 should be coming off the back of a Six Nations that didn't go his way and wanting to make a statement. And he didn't really, aside from getting into a shoving match with Adam Hastings, which I think we'd all enjoy at the best of times. Like Rico Ioane is an 80 plus cap All Black, and he was anonymous. Like it's like they're not that pushed, and I think that's more the frustration than anything that the the appetite and the desire seems to be very lacking at the moment. And there could be a lot of reasons for that. Like, it's a weird situation that Leinster often find themselves in, where it can be quite a fractured camp in terms of there's a lot of the players who play for Ireland, and then there's a lot of the players who don't play for Ireland, and those guys can spend a lot of time apart. And we'll see now when the lads come back in from Ireland camp, that'll be the last time they're gone until the end of the season. So you would hope that they have the capacity then to build through from here. But watching the game, watching the highlights, and watching a bit more of the game, there's just they didn't. I wouldn't say they didn't want it. That's not fair. But they just didn't have a bit of oomph. Whereas Glasgow played like they were loving it, and they were. They're loving it every second of it. Like George, Horn scoring his tries. Like the Glasgow lads were up for this, and they're a team that also loses a lot of players to the international level, and they didn't let that affect them. It helps that they're at home. It helps that the top of the table was there for them to take. But this came down as much as anything. It came down to a battle of um, desire, and it felt like Glasgow were just there for it in a way that Leinster weren't. And it's frustrating because Leinster had strung together like a pretty good run of games up until now. The Cardiff game was a frustration. I was at it. It was a torrential downpour, so you can kind of write that one off. But this would have been a chance for Leinster to kind of get things back on track, and it's really frustrating to be so close to the top of the table, within reaching distance of it, and to let that opportunity slip. So, like I think if there are things that they need to work on, that 10-minute period where they were down to 13 men and
I was
Glasgow
going to say,
scores
so
three
I
tries.
saw
You
a.
just you can't do that. And when you and I'm not even going to make the excuse of saying, "Oh, we were down to 13 men." We were down to 13 men because we got two yellow cards, and
I
and
might
this
make that
season Leinster's
excuse.
discipline has been atrocious. And I think if they fix nothing else, but the amount of penalties they give away and the amount of cards they pick up, that would be a huge step.
Go on, Ben.
It's just that, like, and I don't want to hold a whole. Oh, Leinster were really good, and it was 15 against 15, but they were. They put it up to Glasgow, and it was 15 against 15. I know yellow cards happened; they were two deserved yellow cards. Don't get me wrong. But I've seen a bit of doom and gloom that, like, oh, Leinster have lost two in a row, and like, oh, it's downfall and whatnot. And Cardiff was a downpour, and fine, it was awful, but it was, as we've said earlier, URC has had games that are bad, bad team A, bad team B, bad weather, bad game. Um, Leinster were good in this game. As much as I don't like to say it, Leinster were good for large portions of it.
I think they were
Um,
because I was working as I think they were knocking on the door,
yeah,
but I never really felt like they were getting anywhere.
but I would have taken another team knocking on the door for as much as Leinster did, and I'm very happy with it. Um,
I get that, but your team are not reigning URC champions, look to go back to back and win a European
that's fair.
title. That's the kind of difference. And like for me, like because even my own notes here, I'm like, it was just 11 minutes of hell for Leinster. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't even see the first tackle that got flagged personally. Now, not great. I was writing match for it and I didn't see the first tackle, but I got it right in the end. I got it right in the copy. It's fine. And then obviously Rona Kelleher gets the card. They concede four tries. One is an incredible maul. Two unbelievably, oh, I was going to say opportunistic. Opportunistic selling it short. One of these is one of the tries of the year contenders. in the game. Like the Josh McKay try is sensational. If anyone hasn't seen it, go and watch the highlights on it. It was a brilliant score. But it was a little bit of just that hell, the purgatory state that Leinster don't find themselves in often. But I would say what I'm starting to notice about Leinster is they are finding themselves in these moments more often where the games are just they just don't have the same level of control. And I think some of that is they are starting to lose players in that like your Ross Maloney's, your Ross Burns, your obviously Luke McGrath is leaving as opposed to gone. Guys like that are gone or they're leaving. Will Connors, that changes the dynamic of these fixtures because it's very different to what Leinster would have fielded before. And I think there is, and Ben, maybe from your perspective, there's probably a little bit of a question mark around Leinster squad depth because their top team will win the URC if they stay fit. No, I've no doubts about that. But their depth is a little bit hairy. And now if RK Snyman is out and there's rumors that he's going to be out for quite a while, you look at it and it's like it doesn't necessarily have the punch that, say, a Toulouse, a Bordeaux would have that would like scare you. Do you know?
No, but we've been saying for multiple seasons that Leinster don't have squad depth. Leinster's squad looks a bit weak at times. They've still made three of the last four European finals. They arguably should have made the URC final the year Munster won the URC. They rotated for what they viewed to be a higher trophy, and it cost them in that semi-final. As much as I enjoyed it, it did. Um, Leinster's Leinster's depth is the best in Europe. For me, it still is. They have depth upon depth upon depth. They can lose RG's name and still you still have Brian Baird to go and second over. You need to you have James Ryan, you have Max Egan, RJ is a big loss. Leinster have the players that very much can cover it. And I think David was disagreeing that you've excellent depth, and that it is the best in the league. But
No, I disagreed that fit we win the league down pat. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think Glasgow definitely have earned the right to say that if it's a straight shootout
Yeah,
between the
but
two,
we
there's
don't
no
have a
guarantee that
Scottish
Glasgow win.
podcast. So
w-
like we don't have a
we
reason
are gone
to,
past the
you
days
know.
of Leinster third string team wins the URC at a
Oh, that's
canter.
gone.
We're gone past those days.
I did once send in a question to the 42. Um, I don't remember what year it was, asking if I think Leinster were playing Ulster. Oh, it was the year Leinster played Ulster in the
2020.
Pro 12 final, as it would have been, I think, at the
Yeah.
time,
They technically
saying,
went unbeaten that season. I know it was
should
legitimately close.
Leinster send a second string team to play the final because they've already beaten Ulster with that team and there's a European match the next week? And I was told off by Marie Kinsella. Um,
And
but
how did
which
that
is
European game the next week go? Do you want to remind
look, we
people?
beat Ulster. That's all that matters.
But like,
Because I don't think the next week went very well.
there is an
No.
argument that Leinster second string team probably beats half, if not two-thirds of the URC
Yeah,
right
it
now.
does. It definitely beats the bottom quarter, probably just outside the top eight. But the question now is your Glasgow's, your Cardiff's. Obviously, when you go to South Africa at the start of the season, they're a little bit weaker. Interpro is different because it's different. Do you know what I mean? It's like a cup game. But right now, it's like, I have question marks. Like even look at prop. Like Jerry Keir is probably going to be the guy that they have to back on the bench for the rest of the season. He's done a good job. Was brilliant against La Rochelle in January, for instance. But it's like, hmm.
He's still on Vodafone's books.
Well, and that's Vodafone's prerogative. Not well, probably my prerogative. Probably up my bill now because of that.
Yeah.
Thanks, David.
But like
But
we've
yeah,
ended up in a situation where we have a really evenly balanced competition because 13 games in, the top two teams have won 10 each. So that means even the top two teams have lost three games. The next four, so that's 3 to 6, have all won 8 from 13, and then 7 and 8 have won 7 from 13. So it's like across the board, this is a really evenly balanced competition. It's the kind of thing we were looking for years, and now we've just kind of
and now
stumbled
we're
our way into
complaining about
it.
it.
Well, yeah, of course
But
we are because
but
we're
on
not
but
winning.
but on that, this is kind of where perception, reality, yada yada. There's an idea that Ulster are high flying, they're unbelievable. Leinster are not where they should be. Munster are in the pits. Connacht are rising high. There's only like 7 points between the four of them.
Yeah, three of
Do
those
you know?
teams. Yeah, Ulster flying high, Leinster having a middling season, and Munster having a really hard time of it. Those three teams have won the same number of games.
Yeah,
Like
only two
that's
points between them,
you know.
and Connacht are
Yeah.
5 points further back of that. So like, there's nothing in it. And yes, like celebrate Connacht being within touching distance of Leinster in the table, whatever. But it's also like, but it's just really weird to put a bow on it. Like that's how I feel about the URC this season. And my concern, my concern for Leinster, who are, for instance, who are trying to go on a run in Europe, is if the URC has been bad this year and Leinster haven't been great in it, then is there a question to be asked? But obviously, as we said, that's more about depth, that's more about different things. But is Europe on your mind, David? I know it's 2 weeks away, and I know it's Edinburgh first up, which basically means Leinster 56, Edinburgh 5. Sorry, Duhan will
Mm,
score in the corner, so it can't be converted. It'll be Edinburgh 5.
mm.
But like, is it on your mind at this point? Because now it's like, well, Leinster should back themselves against anyone in the URC. Do you know, like, are we back at that part of the stage yet, or is it a bit too early to? Because it's Scarlett's this week, and again, without any disrespect, Scarlett's two main senior hookers are both injured. Like, they only have three on the books. So,
Yeah, no, because I think finally I have been crying out for years for people on other podcasts, and I can say podcasts because he's on all of them, to stop saying that Leinster should win Europe every year. It's been 8 years. I remember I was standing in the Sands Hotel when Issa Nasewa kicked that penalty that kick over for us to beat Racing. It's been 8 years. Leinster have no right to expect to win Europe anymore. They didn't have that right years
What
ago.
was
They
the
certainly
what was
don't
the
now.
quote last year? Leinster would probably win Europe in like December.
Like
Leinster should
probably,
win Europe.
probably. Like it's if I had to put money on it, I'd say yeah, they'll probably
I'd
win
have been
Europe.
more
It's
confident
something they
last
hadn't
year
done
than
for
this year.
years. Like, and I think it's because we've gotten really good at getting to finals. But apparently, finals are quite hard. So like it's an ongoing thing at this stage. I feel from a Leinster point of view, I'm like maybe if people took us less seriously and didn't overly predict that we'd win everything, maybe we'd have a better shot at it. Like because it hasn't worked. Being favorites has not sat well on our heads at all. There have been finals where we've been outplayed. There have been finals where we've completely swannied or like messed it up like entirely where we should have won. And there've been finals that were there were coin flips. We've done all of them at this stage. The only thing we haven't done in the last 8 years is win one of them. So it's I don't know. Like the thing for me with Leinster at the moment is that there's too much not going right. Even the games we win, we're not winning with the kind of dominance we used to win games, and it just makes me wonder if we come up against a Northampton or a Bordeaux, or is that where it's going to like come back to haunt us, where like we can't guarantee that we're going to beat. And I suppose that's the question. If you can't guarantee that you're going to beat Cardiff, can you beat Bordeaux? And I think the answer might be yes, because I don't know that being guaranteed winners did Leinster any favours, because I think it bred complacency and it bred a lack of last 20 minutes killer instinct. Because when you're never under pressure in that last 20 minutes, you have no idea to handle it when you finally are. And Leinster have come from behind in way more games this season than I think they have in any season in the last maybe 5 years. And while they haven't always managed to fight it back, they're learning a little bit more how to be behind and how not to be the best. And I think learning how not to be the best might be the solution to actually winning. So maybe I've talked my way around to saying, yeah,
But
maybe Leinster will win here.
also the level of like you don't have every game in the Aviva this year. Presumably, all going to plan, it's an away semi-final in Europe. It's
Yeah,
probably an away semi-final in the URC, although as we said, this table can go anyway.
I think Leinster have a more favourable run in than say Glasgow or Stormers, who have to play each other and both have to play Ulster. Ulster's played that. Do you know that kind of way? Like like Leinster should make top two. It's just a little
yeah.
bit trickier now because they're what 12 points
We've
behind
we've
Cardiff.
we've we've three we have five games, three home. So we're home to Scarlets, the Lions, and Ospreys, and we're away to Ulster and Benetton. Realistically, we
Should
should
win
win
five.
four of those games.
Should win four. Should win three with a bonus point at least.
Yeah.
I was going to say you're getting 19
Yeah.
out of 20 out of that. You
At
sorry,
least.
Yeah, 19 to 20 out of a possible
out
25. Yeah, we
25.
should we should get 20 out of that. Should, but
Yeah,
like
It,
but
it, it should be, realistically, it should be 23, 24, but obviously it's a little bit trickier when you're going on a run. But gents, I do want to just get into next week really quickly. Sorry, Ben. Going to start with Leinster Scarlets. so we're going to stay on Leinster for a minute. 7:45 Premier Sports on Friday night. Don't know if you're heading to this one, Dave. I know Hugh Griffin is heading to this one actually. Shout out to Hugh, friend of the channel, basically channel guy, face of the channel at this stage. Um, he's going to be at this one. Leinster should win for everything we've said. This is the Scarlets at home. They should win. They'll have more internationals back. Should get 5 points to the board and be in a more positive position heading into the round of 16 in Europe. David, that was for you.
Sorry, you were on to me. Say that again.
Yes.
I was
Leinster should
preparing my
win, will
We'll
win.
do it live.
I was
If
preparing my
Leinster
outro.
win, if Leinster win, they'll be
Yeah,
in a better position, and they should win
they
against
should
Scarlet.
win. No, I mean realistically, Scarlets at home in the Aviva the week after losing to Glasgow, 3 weeks after losing to Cardiff. They have to win. Like it's. I said it like before that Leinster had to be done losing after they lost to Munster. We weren't quite done losing at that stage,
Well,
but
do
they
you know what I
really have
remembered
to.
actually? We
They
did
really have
pencil
to be
in
done
this
losing.
game should be the next one that they lose. So we
Oh
were
God.
very close to being right.
Those are the days. So like, but they really do have to be. If the ambition is to finish in the top four, and really the ambition should be to try and finish in the top two, then there's no question that they have to beat Scarlets, and they have to do it with a bonus point. And realistically, they should. So yeah, I don't have a ticket yet. It's not sold out. I will probably buy a ticket, despite the fact that this was a very expensive month. But no, it should be signed, sealed, and delivered. But we rule nothing out. We'll see how it goes. But no, this should be a 5 pointer for Leinster.
Yeah, well, it is blue versus red, so you never know. And the Scarlets have they ever actually beaten? They did. They beat Leinster in the semi-final in the RDS before. All right, that was
They beat us in the final.
beat Munster, who were also in blue in that final, actually.
Yeah.
So weird turning of events. But on blue versus red again, Bulls against Munster, 12 o'clock TG Car in Premier Sports on Saturday. Ben, is there a more fearful place to go to Pretoria than Pretoria in the sunshine?
No one's even worse after a 45-0 spanking the week before. Look, it's we said to East Coast not a game until we targeted a win in. We'd have taken a point last week and kind of come what may this weekend. I think now we have to try and get something out of it. We have to score at a minimum. Try and get something out of it because if you don't, you're probably ninth going into round 15 of the URC, which isn't really where you want to be. If we assume Connacht are going to win, Bulls are going to win, Lions are going to win, that's Munster down tonight with
Yeah.
a very tough few games ahead. Like it's not quite a nightmare
Where they play
scenario,
Connacht,
but
Lions, and Ulster, who are all
yep,
in that hunt.
Loftus is the worst place possible in the URC to go in this exact scenario. It's also going to be 2 o'clock South African time on a Saturday afternoon at altitude. It's not going to be pretty. It might. This Munster team surprised me. They might, but right now you're keeping your money as far away from Munster as you possibly can.
Yeah, no, I do agree. The next game after that, 2:15 on TG Car in the Dexcomp, Connacht against the Ospreys. Got it back Connacht to make it 5 in a row. I know Connacht don't go on winning runs too often, but this is one of the more favourable fixtures they've had in this run. I know the Ospreys will have their internationals back, and I believe Jack Morgan is back fit actually. I
Yes,
don't
he's
know. Have I seen him? I have. I have seen him live. I've seen him play for the Lions in Dublin. He's a great player to watch live. He is just all action. I look forward to seeing him. All right, but yeah, you'd imagine Connacht will get the win, and if they can get 5 points, as he said, they can leapfrog Munster in the table. And then where are we? Do you know? Then where are we with Munster
they'll
season,
do it with
Connacht season?
4 on points difference.
Is there not five between the teams?
Nope.
30,
35, 39.
35, 30, sorry, I thought it was 34, 39. Yeah, I was reading it earlier. I swear I'm a sports journalist. But yeah, well, to be fair, I've done a lot of soccer content this week. Come on, you boys in green. So come on, you boys in green. Come on, Connacht. I think Connacht will win this one. Last game, we don't have Adam with us. I'm sure if he was here, he would say Sufdom and that Ulster would win against Zebra, and that's something about remember that time that Zebra won because Zebra did beat Ulster last season. So I think that sums up Adam pretty much
Is
perfectly.
there a member Ulster Zebra player off the top of our heads who
Ah,
played for
jeez,
both?
as if I Ian Nagel didn't he play for Ulster? No. Oh, there we go. What a start. And one final prediction,
There you go, Adam.
Ben.
You're replaceable.
Poor Adam. Um, Ben, one final prediction. Who's going to do it tomorrow night?
2-1 after extra time. Ireland going to play Denmark.
Oh, David, I know you're not a big football
Oh
man.
yeah, gotta be. Only FIFA game I ever bought. World Cup 2002. I'm in the mood to buy another one. Let's go.
They actually don't do a World Cup exclusive
Oh,
game.
for God's sake.
It's all DLCs nowadays.
It's a free DLC though, so you can just buy EAFC 26 and it'll be included.
Yeah,
A
27
pox on a
actually.
pox
But
on
yeah.
games as a service.
Or maybe 26. But yeah, no, I'm so nervous about this game tomorrow night. I won't lie to you. I'm so nervous. I'm already making plans to get up to Dublin on the Tuesday in case there's a game up there, even if I don't have a ticket. It's fever pitch. I've never seen Ireland at a World Cup. I'm the only one on this call that could say that. I've never seen Ireland at a
Oh my
World Cup.
God, you haven't.
I'd
Yeah.
like to see it. Come on, Ireland. And if
Yeah.
Lee wants to get the copyright, you know, push the luck, start playing, put him under pressure. But for now, for all of us, from the
One
three
last one.
wise men,
One last one
go on,
before we go.
go
To
ahead.
anyone who's made it this far. One last huge positive shout out for Irish sports, because I think we said we'd mentioned her before, so we should now. The awesome Kate O'Connor
Yes.
won bronze in the World Indoor Pentathlon. She's the first
Yeah.
Irish woman to win two World Indoor medals, and she set two personal bests in the shot put and the 800 meters. She's phenomenal, and
She,
it's only a pity there isn't another Olympics next year because that girl would win fucking something. So yeah, big up to Kate
the,
O'Connor.
the Irish are good at athletics, and that's apparently the type of athlete we don't produce a lot of. But let's just wait and see. Gents, thank you very much for the three wise men. Adam, of course, I'm sure is tuning in and going, "Oh, I could have got Ian Nagel," etc., etc. While wearing a jersey. Remember, if you like what you see or hear, like and subscribe. And of course, if you're interested in joining the Global Game Night team, leave a comment down below. But from all of us, until next time, come on, Ireland, and we'll chat to you very, very soon.